just audio?
So I do video and audio. I can edit it. Like I edit everything. So if there's something,
I
so two
just
things.
don't like people to see me do this.
Okay. If
My
I
one
if
device.
I'll go through and I'll watch it and I'll take it off. I can edit all the video. It's all good.
I like it. I'll keep it to a minimum. So make it
Oh,
easy.
you're good, man. I do it too, and I don't like people knowing I do it either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
you're good.
I try not to promote it, right?
You're good. All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another episode of The Jungle, and I have a super awesome guest on the show today, Sonny Von Cleveland. Sonny has got his hands in all kinds of projects, nonprofits. He's acting in a play as of recently. He's got his own photography business. He even wrote a book, and we're going to get into all that, but I want to introduce everybody. Sonny, say hello to everybody.
How y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me, my friend. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. I caught wind of you from I signed up for it was like it was some website or podcast directory thing.
Yeah.
And, you had popped on and said, hey, you would like to come on, and immediately I started looking into it, and I was like, this guy is amazing. I was like, I absolutely have to have him on. You fit the bill for the entire scope of this project, and as you know, I don't know if how far you've delved into it, but it's basically, you can make a really great life for yourself even with a felony on your record and a prison background and so on and so forth, and that doesn't have to define who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
So when I started looking into all your projects that you have going on, I'm like, this guy's amazing. I said, I want to talk to him. I have to talk to him. I got to have him on. So I'm super thankful that you decided to come on and talk to me for a little bit this afternoon.
Absolutely.
We're going to jump right into it because you got a lot of stuff going on and I got a lot of questions and it's a lot of stuff to talk about. So off the top, just go ahead and tell everybody, who is Sonny Von Cleveland? Where did you grow up? Who are you?
Yeah. And I just want to really quickly comment on what you said. Not only can you have a life with a felony, I look at it as your felony is kind of a bonus to your resume, right? Like if you've made that mistake in your life and you have that in your past, the goal here is to switch people's mindset and their perspective. My felony doesn't hold me back. My felony is it's just part of my story. It's part of my resume. It's part of my background. It's who I am. And it's whether or not you use the felony as a shameful thing from your past that you're trying to hide, or if you're using it as an empowering lesson in your life that you've gone through, in a chapter in your life that you've grown from and learned from, that makes the difference, right? If you own it and you use it as a tool that has shown people, hey, I learned and grew from this experience in my life, it negates that negativity that people attach to having a felony. Just wanted to say that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I came from a small town in Michigan. I was born and raised out in Carson City, Crystal, Michigan. My life kind of sucked right off rip, man. Starting at around 5 years old, I started getting molested by my uncle, and a few other dudes decided to join the party over the next 5-6 years of my life. And I lashed out as a kid. When I was 7 years old, I broke into a church and was charged with a felony at 7, which is unbelievable. And I found solace in getting arrested and getting put on probation, because every time I would get arrested and put on probation, the predators would go away, because obviously they don't want to be dealing with a kid that's constantly got police around him. And so I found solace in this, and I thought, okay, well, if I just keep getting into trouble, they'll stay away. I'll catch a little ass whooping, and things will be okay. And so I kept on that path. And they only ever gave me probation. They never took me away. They never put me in juvenile detention, because I didn't really have any horrible crimes. I did stupid little property crime, stealing stuff. And they always would put me on probation. And that was the life that I grew up in most of my life. It was small town, trailer parks, redneck living in the country for the most part. Grew up, mud bogs and parties on the lake. And it wasn't a healthy lifestyle. And then when I was 16, the judge got sick of me and sent me to prison. And that kind of changed the trajectory of everything. Not ever being incarcerated before, it really was a life-altering perspective. And then the first week I was in prison, I was raped by 2 dudes, and that really set me in a downward spiral. Because I mean, obviously, nobody really knows how to cope with something like that, that level of violence and violation. They don't really know how to cope with it. And I chose to run across the hallway and stab one of the guys. And that was an attractive thing to the gangs that were in prison. And I was instantly recruited into that. They didn't see what had happened, they just saw me stab the guy. And so I was a prime target for the gangs, and I found a home in that as well. So I spent the majority of my time gang banging on that first 5-year bit. I was given 2 to 5, and I maxed it all out. And then when I was 21, they opened the doors and just cut me loose. And that was probably the worst thing they could have ever done. I was not in a position to be free. I had done no internal work on myself at all. And I hit the ground with this goal of being the next Scarface. I felt like the world owed me something. I felt I had been betrayed by the world and screwed over. And so I took it out on literally everybody that I had any interaction with. And I was sent back to prison in 2004 when I was 23. I was out for about 20 months. I was given another 12 years. And it was much the same. Went back in gang banging, and I had a bit of a different perspective shift. I had gotten a couple of girls pregnant when I was out, and one of them was still with me now, and she was kind of doing the bit with me. And that changed in 2008 when her and my brother decided to start having an affair, and they had a kid and cut me off. And I just kind of sank down into a life of not giving a shit about anybody. And a kid made the mistake of robbing my cell. When I was at work in the kitchen, he ran into my cell and stole all my stuff. And after a really violent altercation, they put me in the hole for 5 years. And I met a Muslim man across the hall who persistently would yell over to me, "Hey, white boy, come talk to me. Hey, white boy. Hey, white boy." And I ignored him. And well, I didn't really ignore him. I would cuss him out and call him everything under the sun, and tried to get him to just leave me alone. And about a week later, I finally caved in, out of loneliness or whatever. And the first thing he said to me was, "Why are you so angry?" And I said, "Well, what kind of question is that, man? I'm in prison. My life sucks. I'm in the hole. You won't shut up. There's lots of reasons why I'm angry." And he said, "No, man, that's why you're mad. Mad is a surface emotion. Anger is much, much deeper, and you're an angry young man." Excuse me. And I couldn't answer that. And so that began the metamorphosis journey for me. I became his student. He became my mentor. And I was able to turn that 5-year sentence into 19 months. And I found the power of self-forgiveness in compassion and kindness and love and learning how to let things go and processing emotion. And I found my passion in life of helping people, learn how this man, for no reason, decided to help me. And I took that. And one of the first books that he sent me over, the first book he sent me over, was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And there's a line in there that says, "Suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it has a meaning." And that really resounded with me. And I was like, okay, this guy went through so much more than I've ever been through. And if he can use it for a force of good in his life, I can use this that I'm going through for a force of good. And it just became a passion for me to try to change the world. And so I've been on that path ever since.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much who I am.
I love that you bring up the fact that, the man in yourself, you guys talked about just forgiving yourself and being a kinder person. And in everything that I've gone through, the trauma, the so on and so forth, it is 100% once you deal with your issues and once you learn to be, I actually pulled up, I'm going to play it real quick. One of your sound bites, because it talks about the same thing, because I wanted to talk about this. Give me 1 second. It was on the, tell me if you can't hear this.
Life where you can be the cheerleader. Right. And I choose to be the cheerleader. And it's so true. It's, the way we talk to ourselves.
That's the wrong one. I screwed up.
My boy, that's my boy, Sean Keenan.
That's not you talking?
No, that's Sean Keenan.
Okay. I thought that was you talking about because that was the other one I wanted to bring up. This one is you, though.
I've studied more courses and classes than I can.
Be fucking nice. That's it. I can't really hear it. It's blurbing out. I can't really hear it, but I know what that is.
I'm gonna overlay it.
Yeah. That's the one that says at the end of the day, just be fucking nice, right? That's all you need. Kindness. So I got that from a pair of jeans in a Zadig and Voltaire shop that I was getting my wife some shirts, and I saw the pair of jeans, and on the kneecaps of the jeans it says "Be fucking nice," and I'm like, that's it. That's all you need, right? That's the one recipe and secret code to life. Just be fucking nice.
So I saw this video, and that has been the number one thing in my, I'll call it recovery or in my growth, that the nicer I am, the more motivated I am, the better I feel about what I'm doing, the better. And I tell guys all the time, I'm like, that's all you need is you just need to do the next best thing. You need to be nice. You need to hold doors open for people. You need to say thank you. You need to yes, sir, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Everybody do the next best thing. And, with that eventually will come your growth, and you'll eventually, I know it was only, I've been out 10 years. I launched this podcast on my 10-year date of being home, because the recidivism rates usually within 10 years, I think it's like 83% of people have been incarcerated again. So I was like, and I didn't even know, it was just a date that popped up. But something weird happened probably around, I'd say 9 years, where I had implemented being nice on a daily basis. I had implemented, I'm not going to let my bullshit get in my way anymore. And I just adopted that, do the next best thing mentality on a daily basis. Be the nicest person that you can be, turn the other cheek, smile and walk away, and help people. And it was like a light. I won't call it a light. I'm not going to say a light came on, but it was like that fire where I would carry so much of my animosity and my just anger kind of went out,
Yeah. I think people that have been incarcerated, we have the unique perspective of, we've tried the asshole route, right? Like we've been a dick to people, and we've seen the results of not being kind. Yeah. And when we try kindness on, the results are, not only are they dramatic, but they're instantaneous. And I talk about this in my book, where the COs hated me. I was an asshole to COs, right? Like most of us that were in prison, we don't like the COs. It's a beef, right? And we don't like them, so we're assholes to them. And then we're shocked when they treat us like shit, right? And then the moment I started being nice to the COs in the hole, right? Like, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And just being nice. I started getting longer times out in the cage when I would go out for rec. They would throw me an extra tray. They would give me an extra 5 or 10 minutes in the shower. Like, wow, that does work. You know what I mean? And it's such a shocking revelation to people when they try kindness on. That's literally all you need in life. And no matter what, one of my favorite movies as a kid was Roadhouse. You remember Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And he was telling the other bouncers in there, be nice. And they were like, well, what if they do blah, 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 whatever they do? Be nice. Be nice. Well, when do you not be nice? You don't know. I'll tell you when it's time to not be nice. Right. But be nice to everybody. Doesn't matter who they are. If they're being an asshole to you, be nice. Right. And you kill them with kindness, and it works so well. Right?
And there's so much growth that comes from that. Like, and you don't even recognize it until you've started doing it and making it a part of your life. And then, and like I said, that it's almost like that fire went out, that light came on, and it's like, wow, like this is really working.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And especially, like, I used to walk around with this chip on my shoulder. Like, I look like an ex-convict. People are automatically going to know I'm an ex-convict. So I'm just going to be standoffish and mean. And I've come to realize that that's not the case, right? People don't know anything about me. Whatever I do when I open my mouth is what's going to give them that perspective. And so if I'm immediately kind and nice to people, then I get to choose the way that they see me. And I get a lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you were in prison. And I'm like, really? You couldn't guess that?
The tattoos don't
Right.
really portray.
And they're like, no, that's a total shock to me. And I mean, tattoos are so pervasive in our culture today that they're right. Like you see people that got the crappiest tattoos all over their face and have never done a day in jail. And it's like, oh, okay. So the image is not everything.
No, it's funny. There's a guy that at the gym I work out with, and he's literally covered. The only thing that's not is the front of his face. And he's a trainer. And I had approached him when I started this, and I was like, "Hey, man," I said, "if you've been locked up," I said, "don't take offense if you haven't." Like but the tattoos, and he starts laughing. He's like, "I've never done a day in jail." He was like, and he laughed, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, my bad." But
I bet he gets it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. So you did 15 years. 15 years of your life from the time you were what? You said 16?
I did 18. Starting at 16. I went in, I did 5.5 years when I was 16, and then I did 12 more when I was 23 until I was 35.
So, and you're from California?
No,
right?
No, from Michigan. I live in California now.
You live in California. Okay, okay, that's right.
Born and raised in Michigan, and decided, you know what? I'm just not a fan of this state.
Well, I'm not either. I'm from Ohio, bud. So
then I moved to Cleveland. I spent 5 years in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really a fan of this state either. So I left Cleveland, and then I moved out to California. I met my wife on a podcast, and I was in the Cleveland music scene for almost all 5 years of that, and it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, you know what, Cleveland, it's a beautiful city, and it was probably more so the people that I associated with. Because there's a lot of good people that are in Cleveland. And I mean, it does have its upsides and it's a beautiful city, but it wasn't for me.
Okay.
Although I kept the name.
That's all right. Hey, I think it's a pretty cool name. That was the other reason I was like, hey, his last name's Cleveland. I got to have him on. So, all right, let's get into, so you got a lot of projects that you're working on. And I mean, we don't have to go into you said you started the photography business. That was kind of, I mean, to me, that's a big deal. That's you came out with the entrepreneur attitude. I'm going to make this happen. It's do or die, and that's legitimately what the whole mindset of the podcast is about. It's I have a slogan that I always use. It's we build monsters. You have to come out swinging. You have to come out with that die hard mentality. It's I'm not going to fail. And you did that, and I have literally a list in front of me of accomplishments, projects you have started, from nonprofits to photography to everything. So I want to talk about this because
let's peel them away.
And that's what I want everybody to understand. You get out, you do your own thing, and you make a life for yourself. So tell me about what was the first project that you got into when you got out?
Well, work. I went straight to work. I joined the union. I was in a local 310 laborers union in Cleveland, doing demolition. And I really enjoyed that because it was a lot of physical work and allowed me to get aggression out. But I came out knowing there's so much opportunity out here, and life is what you make it. There's so much money to be made. And success, I read once that success is like a butterfly. The more you try to grab a butterfly, the more elusive it's going to be. But if you just sit back and enjoy the beauty of it, it'll land on you. And I was like, okay, so I have the list of, and I'm ADHD, so I'm everywhere. If I don't have 1,000 things going on, I don't know what to do with myself. And so I jumped into music because music is a passion for me. It's always been a huge part of my life. When I was a kid, I would hide in the closet away from all the drinking and the drugs and the abuse and everything that was going on. And I would listen to everything from Whitesnake to Jimmy Buffett to Garth Brooks to whatever. And it developed this really big sense of music. So I tried music out a little bit in the last few years of my prison bit. And I wrote poetry a lot, and I have a knack for being able to write really good songs. I'm not a trained musician, so I don't know how to make the sounds come out, right? I have them in here, but I don't know how to make them come out. And so I was in Guitar Center, uh, messing around on a bass, and I met a drummer in there who was like, "Oh, we're looking for a bass guitarist." So I jumped in this band with him, and immediately I'm like, "Okay, so I want to do this, 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 this. Let's make this happen." And it was just too much for them. I mean, I got us booked on a show in the first 30 days that we knew each other, which they saw. I was like, "Man, this is too quick. We wanted this as a hobby." And I'm like, "I don't do things for hobby sake. I do things for success sake, because I shoot for the moon." And the best part about that was that the club that we had played at that first show, I became really good friends with the owner. And I then jumped into managing that club. And so while I'm working the demolition job, I'm also doing the band, and now I'm managing this club.
I just have to stop you real quick. What was the club?
It was called Music Links in Mentor, Ohio.
Music Links. Okay.
Yeah. And
I was just curious because my wife and I, we go to concerts constantly, and we have for years. So, and I have since I was in high school. So I've heard of it, but go ahead.
What area are you from in Cleveland or in Ohio?
So I'm North Canton, Ohio. We're about 40 minutes from Cleveland.
North Canton. So you're by Akron area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've played all over through there because Akron was where I actually lived on Brown and Waterloo when I first got out in Akron. And so
that's a real fun, that's a fun neighborhood.
Yeah, that was a little sketchy. But then I moved up to Cleveland. And so, we've played the Vortex and I think the Vortex is the Vortex is still up there. The Empire.
What was the name of your band?
Grim Trigger.
Grim Trigger? Okay.
Yeah. And it was have you heard of Metal Mafia, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are all my boys. And we did we have a music video out called Walking Through Fire with Metal Mafia. And those are all my guys. And so running this club at Music Links in Mentor, it just met so many musicians in the game. And that's how I actually got into photography, was performing shows. I started becoming friends with all the band photographers that would come in, and I just start picking their brains like, "Oh man, that is really sick, these images. How do you do that?" And it's just about, if you see something and you have a desire to do it, just do it. What do you have to lose? If you don't try something, you'll never know if you were good at it. But if you try everything that you have an inclination for, you might find something that really strikes a chord with you. And so I didn't pick up the photography then. I just learned a bunch about it from these band photographers. I was really focused on music. And the fact that I have learned all the things that I learned didn't make me infallible to making mistakes, right? And I want people to know that just because you learn and you educate yourself and you become a master of your own mind doesn't mean that you're infallible. You're not exempt from making mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes. I cheated on my ex. I dabbled with some drugs, sex, drugs, rock and roll, that whole spiel. And that's where you learn your lessons from. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to fall down. Learn from your mistakes. When you make a mistake, don't hold yourself to task. Be kind and compassionate to yourself, and know that you're human, and nobody has a guidebook on how to navigate through life. And take those mistakes that you make and learn lessons from them and apply them going forward. And so I after the whole music thing kind of fell south, I jumped into a band playing bass with a band called the Wolf Hunters. And then COVID hit, so we couldn't do that anymore. And when COVID hit, I'm like, okay, everybody's stuck in the house. There's got to be a way to make money from this. I'm not going to suck off the tit of the government. There's got to be a way to make money. And so I was watching YouTube, and I saw this reactor called No Life Shack. And I'm watching him, and I'm just entertained by what he's doing. And he's commentating on music videos. He's reacting to music videos. And I'm like, if he can do that, I can do that. So I jumped down, got on my camera, and my first one was Mushroom Head video. and
we're actually going to see them next weekend.
And well, make sure you tell Skinny I said hi, and make sure you flip off Stitch for me.
Yeah.
Because we got it.
Yeah, we band members anymore. I think Skinny's the only one left.
Is he? So I'm great friends with all the ex Mushroom Head members. Waylon Revis is my dude. I'm friends with Tommy. I'm friends with
Jason's a great guy.
J Man's awesome. And obviously Jeff, I'm friends with all those guys. I'm not friends with the current lineup. I don't know the current lineup, but the current lineup when I was in Cleveland, we got into a big brawl with them. And so there's actually an online article in the magazines, and Stitch head butted my then girlfriend at the time, and I lost my shit and kind of got into a little bit of a brawl with all of them. And that was kind of the downfall of the music at the time, because they're held as legends in Cleveland. And even though they're not really nice people, they're skinny. All right. Sometimes you're
I've been a fan for the last 20 years. Since I was literally a freshman in high school. I've been going to concerts, and from what they were to what they are now. We went to their my wife and I, because it's just our thing every year. We go to their Halloween show. And last year I literally looked at her when they came out, and I was like, this isn't Mushroom Head. I was like, you know what I mean?
When they tried their run with Jackie LaPanza in the front, it was like, yeah, no.
I'll tell you, it's not a Roxy, but I will tell you, Jackie's a sweetheart.
I love Jackie LaPanza. She's an amazing.
I've taken my daughter to shows, and Jackie will bring my daughter up, and she's wrote her letters, and Jackie's a great person.
Jackie is an amazing person. I don't think Skinny appreciated the relationship, to be honest.
No. But no, I said last year, I was like, we're never going to another Mushroom Head show. I said, it's not the Mushroom Head. And then they popped up because we're going to be in Cleveland next weekend anyway. And I was like, do you want to go, like, just for old time's sake? So
I'm surprised you didn't come see the Halloween show we did with them at Music Lakes. I
may have been there, to be honest with you. We've been going to Halloween shows for the last, I can't even tell you how long. So
yeah. And so after all that, I jumped into the reaction game, and I did really well. I did really successful on YouTube, blew up to 50,000 subs or so in a very short period of time, and started making really good money. And then I went to a Reiki session, because as soon as I started to have this online presence, my passion always comes out to help and to inspire people and to motivate people. And so as soon as I have this audience, now I started podcasting, and I started doing these shows, and I started doing interviews, and I met some great musicians. The drummer from Nightwish has become a great friend of mine, and a lot of Leanna Scissorhands and a lot of these musicians. And I really had this knack for interviewing and podcasting, and then I did this daily show. And one of my co-hosts wanted me to do a Reiki session, because I don't believe in the whole mumbo jumbo stuff, right? I'm an experiential guy. If I can't see it, I'm not going to validate it. And so he said, well, you got to try this Reiki session. So I went out and tried the Reiki session, and it kind of blew my mind, right? Like how much this woman knew about my life and have never known me or know anything about me. And I went home and I left my old lady because I was not happy. I literally went home that same day, sat her down, said, I'm not happy anymore, and I'm done with this relationship. And she went ballistic, like level 5 nuclear, right? And it changed my life. Yeah. So she, hacked into the YouTube and got my YouTube hacked, and it was just turned out to be a very bad thing. And shortly after, I was a guest on a podcast where I met my wife, and determined that sticking around Ohio just wasn't going to work for me. And that's the thing about, if you're in a situation and Viktor Frankl, again, famously said, when you can no longer change the situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. And when people are there's this comfortable pain that people are comfortable with. Like if you work a shitty job that you hate, you'll stay in that because it's a comfortable pain, right? It's some, you're like, I know it's going to suck, but I can deal with it because I get to come home and have that ice cold beer and see my kids. And we use that reward at the end of the day to endure the pain during the day that we don't want. And we don't have to live that life. You can make the choice to not live that and still have your reward at the end of the day, right? And you can have it more so. And not only, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to. Like I wanted to have a clean breakup and co-parent and raise our kid together. And that just doesn't work, right? Because you can't do that with a narcissist. It just doesn't work. And so I determined that if I want to pursue my goals and continue to be successful in my life, I have to leave this area. And your new life will cost you your old life. Sometimes you just have to change things in order to line up with your purpose. And so I packed up my stuff and headed out to California. And failure's not an option, right? I don't look backwards. One of my favorite people in the world is Denzel Washington. And he famously has said, I don't have a fallback plan because I don't plan to fall back. I'm going to fall forward. At least then I can see what's going to hit me. And he's right. Like, we don't, if you have a backup plan or a plan B, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with me, and some very successful people. My buddy Sean Kanan, in his book, which is right here, The Way of the Cobra and Welcome to the Kumite, have a plan B, have a plan C, right? Always have plans. But for me, if you have a backup plan, that means you are allowing the option to fail, right?
Yeah.
You're giving failure a space to live. I don't have a fallback plan. I packed up all my stuff. I calculated how much it was going to take me to get there, and I did not have enough to come back. Right. So I'm going that way. And then you pursue your dreams. And so I came out here, and immediately I picked up the camera, because when my wife and I got here, we didn't have any money. We didn't know what we were going to do. We had enough money to sustain a place to live for about 6 months, and take care of the basic necessities. And we're like, okay, what are we going to do for a business? And I was working 3 jobs when I got here. I was a bouncer at a gay bar. I was a bartender at a wine lounge, and a photographer. And so I would work all day while my wife is coming up with this business plan of what we're going to do, which became a cat cafe. And we're like, let's start a cat cafe. We don't know how to do this. We don't know what we're going to do. Neither of us have ever had a brick and mortar store, but you let passion lead you, right? And that's what you do. You set a goal, you be determined in it, and you don't take no for an answer, and you don't accept failure. It's not an option. We're going to do a cat cafe. What the hell is a cat cafe? It's a coffee shop that has cats in it. Okay, so what do we need? We need a building to put this in. Let's go find one. And so we literally, without any money, without knowing anybody, without anything, we started to go out and call realtors, commercial realtors, to start showing us spaces, right? And this is the power of manifestation. When you go into this, I'm looking at this building, blah, 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 give me the details. What do I need? How much do I need to get in? How much, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we know now, we have a target of how much money we need. We have an idea of what it's going to take to secure this building. Then what? Then what do we got to do? Well, you need a business license. You got to have insurance. You got to have, there's a ton that goes into it. Oh, you need an architect. I didn't even know I needed an architect. And with an architect comes another $30,000 worth of problems. And it's like, wow. So we set the goal of what we need, and we just work toward it, and we achieve it, and we achieve it, and we achieve it, and we don't quit. It took us 16 months and $216,000, which I still don't even know how we made it, but we did. And now we have a very successful cat cafe in the Coachella Valley, and I became a career photographer, and I get hired by everything from the city of Palm Springs, the county of Riverside, nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations. I get hired by Acrisure Arena to shoot big concerts, and I get hired by single people for headshots, and I'm the house photographer for a couple of theaters out here. And this is the point of pivoting when you're pursuing a goal, right? I got hired by Desert Theater Works to be their house photographer, to come in and take photos. And while I'm there, I'm like, I've never seen theater before. This is incredible. I love this. I'm a performer. I love the musical aspect. I love the acting aspect. How does somebody get into this? They're like, oh, you're a photographer. Just shoot Lance, who's the guy that runs the place. Just shoot him an email, and we'll set you up with an audition. So I did, and immediately landed a lead role in Escape to Margaritaville, which is a Jimmy Buffett play. And I'm like, well, that was easy. And so I go in there and I just put my passion into it. Let me see this, blah, blah, blah. And I rocked it. I got a Broadway.com world review. Like, well, that's awesome. And so that led into the next one. Another theater owner came out and saw and was like, oh, it was so good. I got a perfect role for you. We want you to play Roger in Rent. And I didn't even know what Rent was. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And you take those opportunities when you open your mind up for success. When you say, you know what, this is what I want to do in life, and I'm just going to pursue it. I don't believe in failure. I'm not going to listen to any negativity. I'm not going to allow any naysayers into my life. Your peripheral opens up, and you see opportunities when they present themselves. And if you pass them, you missed out. And if you take them, you never know what other door is going to open up for you. but you always keep your passion in the forefront of your mind. So every time I talk to somebody, I talk about my past, I talk about my life, my history, my goals, my career. I talk about everything that I do in my life because I want to, A, I want to inspire you, and B, you may present an opportunity for me. And so I look at every single person I come across as an opportunity or to inspire or to open a door. Right. And I mean, I do that with even a homeless person is an opportunity. There's an opportunity to inspire or open a door. You don't know that homeless person's story. Right. So I have this thing that I do called an eat and greet. You know, you've heard meet and greet. And so I do what's called eat and greet. Whenever I'm out into another city or something, I go to Vegas a lot, I go to LA a lot. And whenever I'm out there, I find a homeless person and I go up to them and I offer to buy them dinner just to tell me their story. I just want to know your story in life, how you got here. And I've met some incredible people that have had lives. Like I met a guy whose entire family got wiped out in a car accident. And this guy was, I mean, he was wealthy. He made millions, self-made millionaire. And he just lost his mind after his wife and kids were killed by a drunk driver. And he lost his mind. Right. And he just kind of gave up on himself and quit. And after having dinner, he's inspired again to pick himself up and go forward. And I don't know his name. I don't know where he's at or none of that, but I know that he walked out inspired and I felt humbled. I felt humbled. Like, I mean, everything can be taken away in a heartbeat. And we get to choose how we respond to tragedy. And it just solidifies my position in life. Like, no matter what happens to me, I've been raped, I've been stabbed, I've been shot, I've been beaten into comas. It's the way that we respond to these instances that are going to determine how we're going to progress in our life. If you look at it from a state of victimhood, like, I can't believe this happened to me, this was unfair, this shouldn't have happened, you're going to remain in that victimhood mindset, and your tunnel vision, your peripherals are closed. But if you look at it as, you know what, it's a circumstance in life, it happens to a lot of people, I'm not anything special. Sometimes tragedy happens, and what can I learn from it? What can I take away from it? You're not tunnel visioned anymore, right? Like, the pain doesn't have to consume you. It doesn't own you. You don't remain in that victimhood, and your peripherals will open up, and you can move forward in life. And the best part is that you can inspire somebody else that's been through it to know that they can survive it too.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love the eat and greet. That's I might actually take that from you next time.
Do it.
Do
it. I encourage everybody to do it. It's amazing. And you just go up to somebody, hey man, can I buy you dinner? I'll buy you dinner on one condition. You have to tell me your life story, how you got here.
Oh, and that piggybacks off the whole just being kind, a portion of everything that we've talked about. You know, it doesn't take anything to go out and listen to somebody's story or to, and honestly, like you said, you were humbled walking away from it. You know, that's huge, man. I tell people all the time, like, you just going back to everything we said, just being kind. So you did you're acting in Rent. That's coming up, right?
Yeah. That's next week, actually. Next Friday.
I just started following you, and I saw, and my wife is a huge theater nerd. Like, our friends run the Ohio Shakespeare Festival up here in Akron.
Nice.
So I told her, I said, I'll talk to him about Rent for a minute, because I am not a big theater guy, but hey, I respect it.
I wasn't either.
I enjoy a lot of them. Her and my 10-year-old just went and saw Dracula last night.
Nice. So she'll enjoy this story about Rent. So I was cast as Roger. And when they initially told me, all the theater people in my first performance were like, oh, you'll be perfect for that role. He's a metal guy. You're a metal guy. You'll be perfect for this. And here's an educational moment for anybody that's Rent fans or into theater. Roger is not a metal guy. Roger is an 80s rock guy. Massive difference, right? The difference is between it's Roger between right? It's Poison versus Pantera, right? It's not, well, you can't even say that, because Phil Anselmo had his 80s moments, but it's metal. It is not rock. And so in the way that I do the theater thing, I made the mistake when it come to Rent of, I agreed to the role. I learned one song, Glory, and I'm like, yeah, I got this. It's cake. I didn't actually watch the musical until the night before rehearsal started. And so rehearsal starts 4 weeks before the performance. So we get 1 month to rehearse. And I had a vacation to Hawaii planned in that second week. And so I'm only getting 3 weeks. So I watch the performance and I'm like, oh shit. This is much more complex and deeper than I had anticipated. There's 42 songs in this thing, and I've got to be in like 35 of them. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a lot. And I'm only getting 3 weeks, but I can do this. I got this. And my ego started kicking in. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. And so we go to practice the first night. And after that first night of rehearsal, I go in and I'm in there with this amazing cast of people. And I realized that all of these people have been watching Rent for 20 years. They love this performance. It's such a powerful and profound music.
There's like a cult following behind
there
Rent.
is. And Jonathan Larson was a genius who wrote this play. And I'm seeing the passion of these people. And I started to get intimidated. I'm like, I'm going to fuck this up. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to get all these songs down in 3 weeks. Shit. And so after the first night, the director pulls me off. He's like, are you comfortable with this? Are you sure that, because I know you're going away for a week and that's a lot. And I'm like, I got this. Let's just do this first week and we'll see where we're at Sunday before I leave. And then we'll make a determination. And he's like, we really got to know this, because if you're not going to do it, we got to find another Roger and get him. And I'm like, shit. So give me the night to think about it. So I go to sleep. The next day, I just worked myself into a frenzy on this. I'm gonna fuck this show up. This is crap. So I call the theater owner. I say, listen, I don't want to do this, but I got to drop. I'm gonna drop it. I'm not gonna take the role. And she's like, don't worry about it. We got 1,000 people that are dying to play Roger. We got this. And so she's like, will you still do the ensemble? I was like, yeah, of course. I'll be in the ensemble. I can handle that. So we come in. They bring in this other guy to play Roger, and I love Ben Reese to death, but he doesn't really look like the Roger role. And fantastic, phenomenal vocalist, fantastic actor. So I go to Hawaii, and now I'm learning all these ensemble parts. And now that I'm back, and we've been steadily practicing now for 2 weeks rehearsing, I know the whole play. I'm like, man, I could have easily handled this role. I could have totally got this. And I'm kicking myself like, damn it. I'm not going to do this. And I was talking to one of my co-stars, and she was like, you'll make that mistake one time in your career. I made it once. Most actors will make it once. This is your one. And now I'm learning, this is the first time Rent's been performed in Coachella Valley in 8 years, the first time at this theater in 12 years. So it probably won't come up again. And I'm like, God damn it, I missed a perfect opportunity. So I'm still kind of kicking myself over that one. But that being said, it's a phenomenal cast. Everybody's really killing it. And it's going to be such an incredible show.
So, okay. So you're not performing in it then?
I am. I'm in the ensemble. I'm playing Mr. Jefferson. I'm playing Paul in support group. I'm playing the drug dealer, the man. And so I have 4 or 5 different roles in the ensemble. But I'm not Roger.
Okay.
And that's a bitter pill to swallow, but
that's all right, man.
It is all right.
You'll get your other shot.
No doubt.
So tell me about this Itopia. What's the nonprofit that you've started? And I want to get all your plugs in there because I'm planning on putting everything up on the website. So talk about Itopia and what that's all about.
Yeah. So Itopia Coaching was founded by my wife. My wife used to be, my wife is a big deal. She's a very humble girl, and she'll never put it out there like I would, because I'm a bit of a diva, I suppose. But she is such a big deal. She was a professional model for 5 years in Tokyo when she was 18 and made a lot of money being a model. Became Paul McCartney's tour manager, J-Lo, P. Diddy's tour manager during that time.
Wow.
And was not happy with that life, put herself through school and joined a Fortune 100 company that rhymes with Clamerican Prefress, we'll say. And she became the sales director of that Fortune 100 company and had a $3 billion sales target every year and was in the top 1% of performers in the world, and actually got Apple to sign with that company and is responsible for the largest contract in history with that, with a $1.5 billion contract, and got Apple to sign with them. And then started having panic attacks because of it. And so she quit corporate life and founded Itopia Coaching on the premises of mental health, corporate burnout, and women empowerment. She became a keynote speaker, traveling the world, giving keynote speeches, and then developed this system of mindset coaching. And when I got a hold of it, her and I sat down and worked together, and we're like, I said, this is a phenomenal concept, but it's geared toward corporate. And let's expand on it, use my life experiences, and make it available for everybody. And so then that's what we did. So we sat down and we have our primary curriculum, which is a 12-week, 8-module self-development course that's called the Choice Effect. And so that ties into the nonprofit. So we have the mindset coaching company where we individually have clients that come in to get their life right, but it's expensive. And my thought was, the people that need this the most can't afford this. Right. Yeah. These are people that are in jail or in rehab or homeless or dealing with stuff in their life that they just can't get through. And there's no way they can afford this. How do we give this away to people? And so I started to research some nonprofit organizations. I'm an ambassador for a nonprofit called Buddha Bullying, where we go into schools and we give symposiums on anti-bullying. And so I'm learning about nonprofits, and I'm like, okay, let's design a nonprofit that raises funds to help us purchase this material to give away. And I mean, it just kind of has fallen into place. So I started the Von Cleveland Foundation, and that's what we do. We have a literary legacy project where we raise funds to purchase mindset coaching books and personal development books, the books that have helped me in my life that I know are just so imperative to helping people repair themselves. And we do book drives. We're going to be giving it away to. I'm working with the Riverside County Probation Department to go into all the juvenile facilities and give this stuff away, and we'll do speaking symposiums, because 50% of my board members are ex-convicts. There's 60 years of incarceration on my board, right? So I've got Uncle Jeff, who's done 9 years and come from a life of horrible street life and drugs. And I got Matt, who did 7 years, and he's really business savvy. I got Sophia, who did some time and was addicted to drugs at one point. And so we will show people, it's not just about telling people like, hey, study this and you can make a better life. We are living, breathing examples right here. All of us have been to the bottom of the barrel. And now we're all successful entrepreneurs and business owners. And our goal is to inspire people that no matter what you've been through, you can take this. Some of us just need a guide map on how to do it. And so here's our story and how we did it. And here's the free material for you to use. Right. And so that's the goal of the nonprofit. And I think it's going to be really, really successful in helping people to get up and move forward and live their best life.
That's amazing. I love that your whole board is made up of ex-cons, whatever you want to call them, people who've decided to do better. That's awesome. So
there's a spot for you, Chris. There's a spot for you. We need a Cleveland chapter of the Von Cleveland Foundation.
Hey, so I'll tell you, and we'll talk after the show. I get the most out of me starting this. At this point in my life, my wife and we have a comfortable life. I'm not looking for anything monetarily. I get the most out of everything just by being able to talk to people, tell my story. And it's like you said earlier, it's humbling. And as long as I can lay my head on my pillow, my wife gets so mad because with my background, I lay my head on my pillow at night now and I'm out within 3 minutes.
Yeah, I get the same thing.
And she is by the books, master's degree, checks all the boxes on paper, and it takes her an hour and a half to fall asleep every night. And I'm like, I tell her all the time, I'm like, I have to keep doing the next best thing. And as long as I am doing something that mentally fulfills me, I'm happy. Like we make all the money we need.
Let's not undermine the fact that the worst bed out here is 10 times better than the best bed you're going to find in there. And the pillows in there suck. And so anytime I lay on a bed, I'm like, oh my God, put on like me and my wife are UGG whores, right? We love everything UGG, right? So everything's soft and cozy and squishy. And I'm like, oh my God, this blanket is made of happiness. I love this. And I sleep so well. People ask me all the time, like, you have so much going on. How do you ever sleep? I sleep wonderfully. I sleep at 12:30 at night and I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I sleep beautifully during those 4.5, 5 hours. I sleep beautifully. I wake up refreshed. And I have morning routines. I can't emphasize enough how important morning routines are.
Yeah.
And read Hal Elrod's Morning Miracle. It will change your life. And you want to see a crazy story. This guy is incredible. But every morning, first thing, I'm so blessed that my wife gets up before I do. And I wake up to a hot, fresh cup of coffee every morning. And I go out to the first thing I do, I grab my cup of coffee and I go out and I stand on my front porch and I just let the sun beam in my face for 10 minutes. Right. There's something magical and empowering about the sun. And I just stand there and I breathe. I listen to the birds chirping, I listen to the wind. I feel that heat on my face. And I'm grateful. I'm just so grateful for being in that moment. And that just starts my day off on a happy note every day. And then I go meditate for 10 minutes. And then I do 10 minutes of affirmation. And then I go in my bathroom and I spend just me time in the bathroom. And I mean, it's probably, if there was a camera in there, people would make fun of me. I mean, I do some funny shit, right? Like I'm in the camera, like you are a beast. You are successful. You are powerful. You are, well, you know what I mean? And self-affirmation, right? And it by the time I walk out of the door by 8 a.m., I have already checked off 10 goals in my life. I'm happy. I'm empowered. I'm ready to hit the day. Like, let's go. Right. And it's empowering, and owning your morning will dominate your day. Right. And you go through life so much happier.
Well, and you hit on a huge key point there, and that's self-affirmation. Like I can either, and that was the video that I pulled up. And that's why I wanted to talk to it. I didn't realize it was Sean Kanan, but if I let myself get in that mindset, I am my worst enemy all day long. But if I wake up and I do the same stuff, I'll be in my phone, I'll be watching myself in the face, and you're an animal, you're gonna do it today.
That's right.
Words of affirmation, and people don't understand, and you speak it into existence. Like the more you say it, you're actually putting it out into the universe, and it's going to manifest. So
and it works on both sides of the coin. If you wake up and you say, God damn it, I'm so tired, this day's gonna suck, it's going to be brutal. It is. You've just manifested that. So your day's going to suck. It's going to be brutal. You're going to be in a shitty mood. And it's the opposite. If you go at it like, today's just going to be beautiful, it's going to be amazing, it's another day I get to breathe free, fresh air. And then you just find gratitude in everything that you do. Man, I'm grateful I get to use the toilet by myself. I'm grateful I can grab up a bag of chips in the store if I want to.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for every moment of my life. And that gratitude, the universe responds to gratitude, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good thing.
No, I owe a lot of that to my wife, because it took her. She is the person that wakes up in the morning smiling from ear to ear, chirping with the birds. I can count on one hand the number of times that she has woken up in a bad mood, and it's literally because something traumatic has happened, you know. Yeah. And for the longest time, she would always say, and she's been my biggest motivator as far as getting over my own bullshit and my own kicking myself down and talking badly about myself and thinking negatively about myself. And so for the longest time, she would always, and she led by example. So for the last 8-10 years, it's me watching her and her kicking me in my ass every time I start like the woe is me bullshit. So for the last 3-4 years, I've started to get in the mindset of I wake up in the morning and I'm like, hey, I'm going to fucking kill it today. I'm going to rock it. I don't like whatever happens to me today. It's not even going to compare to me being locked in a 4 or an 8x8 cell for the next 3 years of my life.
Man, saying that shit. Yes.
So,
and I'm the same way. I highly recommend finding a partner that is conducive with you like that. Like my wife and I are diametrical opposites. Right? I am loud, heavy, hard, fast, chaotic, adrenaline, rah, right? And she is this quiet, soft, posh, little reserved English bunny. And
Yeah.
but we are the same at our core. And she inspires me every day and motivates me every day, just like you are. And I I don't care whether you're gay, straight, trans, black, white, pink, find you a partner that it is conducive with that in your life. And if they're not, don't be afraid to let go of that relationship, right? It doesn't have, it's not your choice if the post relationship doesn't work, right? If you go into it, and everybody needs this, you isolate the things that make you unhappy in life. If you're not happy in a relationship, I don't care if you got 30 kids, 10 cats, and 4 goats, you're not doing anybody any favors by staying in that relationship. You're not doing
Right.
yourself, herself, those kids, those goats. None of them are being benefiting from you staying in it. And then go at it with kindness. And if they choose not to have an amicable split, that's their choice, not yours. And you get to choose how you respond to that. I'm going to do this anyway because this is what's best for my life and those that are around me. And make that decision. Definitely have a life partner that is conducive to your happiness.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of things, and I'm not going to get on the Bible, and I am by no means a super religious guy, but it says, and my wife and I tell people constantly, because we have a really great relationship. We have people tell us constantly they wish they had what we had, and it took a lot. It took a very destructive marriage for me the first time around. It took a bad one for her the first time around, but there's one, and I always go back to this verse or this saying in the Bible. And again, I'm not religious, but
I love the Bible. I think it's an amazing book.
Well, we won't get into that, but it's that your partner you should be evenly yoked with your partner.
No doubt.
And there's so much to that because her and I are total opposites, but she's my biggest cheerleader. She's also the first person that's going to be like, chill the fuck out. You're being an idiot. You know what I mean? But
yep.
We want the same things in life. She wants to build. I want to build. She wants to build me up. I want to build. She wants me to be the best person I could be. And you have to find somebody that wants that. So
it's
you're absolutely
an accountability partner. Got to have it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So hey, white boy, tell me.
Yeah,
about
that's the book. So
yeah.
My wife and I, we wrote this together. She actually ghost wrote the book for me. I mean, I'm not savvy when it comes to writing by any stretch. So we developed a system. We don't even remember how we started. She'd been telling me since we've been together, your story is incredible. It needs to be a book, blah, blah, blah. And we just kind of put it off because we had so many things going on. And then one day we just sat down and she was like, okay, I'm 1,500 words into your book. I'm like, oh, okay. Let me read it. Checked it out. I'm like, well, this is awesome. And so we developed a system that day. Every morning, 6 a.m., we get up at 5 and we do our own individual routine. And at 6 a.m., we sit down. She interviews me for an hour. And she takes notes, she records, she does all this stuff on her computer. My wife's a type A, so everything's organized. And then I would go work the Cat Cafe all day, and I would come home and she would have this amazing run of words that she did. And she's like, read it. I would go through it. This is inauthentic. This didn't happen. This didn't happen. You got to reword this, and just she did such a phenomenal job ghostwriting this book and locking in the authenticity. And it's like, and I mean, it wasn't an easy process going through it. There was a lot of uncovered things that I had kind of buried and that I had forgotten about. And it brought up to the surface. It's a very challenging thing when your partner's writing your book, especially, when we go through the relationship prior to this, because like you said, I think everything that has ever happened to us in our life has put us in the position to be where we are. And yes. So the relationship that I had with my ex, I had to go through that to be able to appreciate the marriage that I have now. And yeah, it was difficult on her because we had to go back and discover how me and my ex actually got to that point where we fell in love with each other and the happy moments, because it wasn't all bad, right? Obviously, if I'm with you for 4 years and we have a kid, it wasn't all horrible. But we persevered through that, and she just wrote such a phenomenal book, man. It's just so incredible. I'm still in awe of it. I've read it 5 times now. I'm still just in awe of this book. And the reviews are incredible. I think people are really resonating with the book. It's a memoir of my life. It's not a, this is what you got to do. Here's 5 secrets. Here's 10 tips. Here's 4 steps and 3 magical keys to fixing your life. It's my experience and what I went through and how I coped with it and what I did to get through it. And if you can take something from that and apply it to something in your life, awesome. And if you can't, it's still just a really good story. And it's done amazing. And that's actually how I've become such good friends with Sean Keenan, who he and I are about to launch book tours and do some book tours together. And if you're not familiar with Sean Keenan, what an incredible guy. I grew up hating the guy. Right? So he was Mike Barnes in Karate Kid Part 3. And I grew up, I'm like, I don't like Mike Barnes, right? He bullied Daniel LaRusso. He broke the bonsai tree for no reason. I did not like him. And then through my prison time, I was also a big General Hospital fan. I watched General Hospital a lot while I was incarcerated because I loved Sonny Corinthos and I was a big Mafia fan. And AJ Quartermain was an asshole. And of course, that Sean Keenan played AJ Quartermain. And so when I met him, he bought my book and then he read it and he hit me up and he was like, dude, just incredible. And we've become really good friends now. And I'm like, I grew up just despising you, man. But you are such an incredible guy. And now that I've read his books and I've gotten to know him on a personal level, he's just such an amazing human being. And you know, now he's on Bold and the Beautiful. It's the most watched daytime soap opera. And he's written 2 amazing books. And he's a coach and he does a lot of charity work and a lot of giving back, and just an incredible guy. And this is another instance of manifestation, right? Like, if you surround yourself with people that are on the same level as you or have the same goals or pursuing the same thing, so many opportunities will open for you, right? Yeah. And now we're looking into Barnes and Noble's tours and getting my book into Barnes and Noble's and doing these runs and potentially even making a movie out of this. And there's just so many opportunities. You never know what you can accomplish if you don't try things. You got to take risks. You got to put yourself out there and try. Own your story, own your past. Nobody has your background. Nobody has your story.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about human beings is that we all have this individual experience going through life, and nobody's experience is the same. Some people look at it like, I just have this boring, basic ass life. Nobody wants to hear that. That's so far from the truth. Every human being is such a beautifully unique human being with beautifully unique experiences, and everybody wants to hear about it. You just have to put it out there for people to hear.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and I think that's the key. I think that's one of the things that COVID really woke up for people, is that they realized that you can pursue your life, your passion in life, and monetize it. And so that's why we see a lot of people not going back to work. People have learned how to monetize their lifestyle. And we see a lot more people happier in life nowadays. And while it was a tragedy what happened with COVID, it really inspired a lot of people to live their best life. And that's another thing that I talk about a lot is people living that life.
Yeah. I mean, it's you have to find your passion, and that's my cousin and I, we're like best friends, man. There's only a few years difference between us, and it is him and I have just kind of come into this season where it is, we just want to do, we want to make our life what makes us happy. That's, if we can monetize it, that's great. If not, it's at this point in my life, like I said, my wife and I financially, we're fine. It's all about me being happy. And that's what she wants the most, and I want the most. And, you know, so.
And when it comes to finances, if you're living a life of purpose and passion, money's going to come anyway. Yeah. Right. And if your sole focus in life is to make a bunch of money, it's going to evade you, and you're going to spend your whole life chasing stuff. Yeah. But if you like, I don't even look at the accounts. I don't look at anything. I live every day pursuing my passions, and checks just roll in. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. There's another one. Oh, there's another one. Here's a Cash App. Here's a Venmo. Here's another. Like, oh, okay, cool. Boom. And I would do everything that I do right now for free. I would do photography for free because I just love it. I mean, there's just it's like a hit a crack every time I hit the shutter button. It's like, ooh, I love that feeling. And I love taking photos. And I just happen to get paid for it. It's like, oh, well, all right. And so you have to live a life of purpose and passion, and money's going to follow. Just don't even worry about the money.
Right. Well, Sonny, I have to say well, first of all, is there anything that you want to tell anybody I mean, you've basically covered everything. You're a little bit intimidating to talk to. I'm going to be honest. And I'll tell you, I'm 6'6", 300 pounds. And I came into this looking at all your accomplishments and projects that you've got going on. And I was like, I'm a little nervous talking to this guy.
Oh, man, I'm 6'6", 220, man. You got me by 80 pounds, but Twin Towers, baby. We're going to start something.
There you go.
But see, everything happens for a reason. Like here it is. Watch this.
But I'll tell you, man, you're just listening to you for this past hour. You're an inspiration. Like you,
thanks, man.
I was up until about 10, 11 o'clock last night, just looking at I was watching your reaction videos, and I saw like you had a huge YouTube following on a lot of your videos. And then I was getting into some of your, the Daily Choice or your podcast videos. And then some of your other inspirational stuff. And I'll be honest, I've engaged your YouTube channel probably nonstop back and forth for the last 24 hours. I'm fascinated. I think you're doing a great thing. I think you are an amazing guy.
Thanks,
and
man.
I love at the beginning when we started talking, you said, you stopped me and you literally made a statement of, you don't let your past define you. You let it empower you.
Thanks.
And that's so huge on so many levels. Like that's what this whole show is about. That's all I want to convey to people. And whether you have felonies or not, and I've got a lot of people that listen that don't have felonies that have reached out to me and been like, dude, this is just awesome. And that's the whole mindset. You let your past empower you. You don't let it define you.
No doubt. And what you're doing is phenomenal, man. Keep doing. I'm gonna hook you up with my buddy Chad Marks. He's doing kind of a similar thing on YouTube. It's so important what you're doing, and keep doing it, man. For real.
Well,
it's so important, and it's humbling, and I'm very grateful to have met you and been on here, man. I appreciate it.
No, the honor's all mine, man. You're doing great things, man, and I'm super thankful that you reached out and that I was able to make this connection, because this was amazing for me. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was great.
No doubt.
So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Stick around for a second. I'll talk to you for a few guys. Check out the website, webuildmonsters.org. I'm going to throw all of his links up where I sent them over the other night or last night to be put up. He's working on it. I'll have a link to the book, link to the nonprofit, several links up there for Mr. Sonny Von Cleveland here. So check him out. He's an amazing guy. Hey, and it's Eastern State Penitentiary. That's the background.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I told you I'd remember before the end of the show.
That's right.
All right, guys. Signing off. Chris Tack and Sonny Von Cleveland. Sonny, thanks again, brother.
See ya.